Howdy. Welcome to Covers' Puck Props, a 14-year NHL vet, Carlo Colaiacovo. How are you, bud?
Hey there, man. Are we talking with cowboy accents today?
Oh, West. We got West Coast hockey, bud. We got Alberta hockey. We got hockey that I will not be staying up to watch. I apologize. Are you staying up for West Coast games right now or no?
No, I didn't. I could barely stay up for the second overtime yesterday in Carolina, New York.
How about that game? What was that? What was that money line on Colorado at the intermission though? Like that was a good night. That was a good night of round one, round two hockey.
It's always nice to wake up to surprises in sports. That last night Colorado result was a massive surprise to me because I went to bed. I'm like, Dallas was up 3-0 after the first. I'm like, okay, Dallas is going to use this momentum after beating Vegas and take control of this series. And I wake up and it's 4-3 Colorado. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? How did Dallas let this one squeak away?
Big bad Val happened. That guy is just a playoff boy. I got him for some Conn Smythe yesterday, points in the series. I'm very excited about
you had a big night last night, Mr. Rake over here.
Oh, bro, I hit every line, like 3 guys across, and hit all 4 lines. And like I did them together, I did them separate, I did them all together. And it came up like $3K yesterday.
Building that bank account, I love it.
Oh goodness, just can't wait to throw it away on Europa Soccer this afternoon. But Insight says it was plus 700.
Here's what I want you to do, okay? Put all the winnings you had last night and put it on the Philadelphia Phillies because they play at 1 o'clock today against the Blue Jays.
Ugh.
Come on, man.
No, I get it, but could you imagine the heartbreak of like that's Toronto sports betting? They would play well. And
you're a baseball guy, though. You're a baseball guy. Do you think the Blue Jays could beat the Phillies today?
What's the pitching matchup?
It's Bassett versus Nola.
Ooh. No, Bassett's crap. But Bassett could go. But nah, I wouldn't bet it.
The Phillies are the hottest team in baseball right now. The Jays can't hit.
I was thinking, like, if I rolled it all over to anything, I'd probably go Connor McDavid, Conn Smythe.
Wow.
At like plus 650.
Yeah, but okay, so here's my defense against that. Because I did a segment on this on TSN and with our power play segment. That is a great value bet. Don't get me wrong. Only if you believe the Edmonton Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup.
That's it. Like it's you. I don't know what Edmonton's odds to win, but you might as well just take McDavid for Conn Smythe instead of the Oilers to win.
But I mean, do you believe the Oilers can win the Stanley Cup? Because I look at the way Colorado and Dallas are playing, and I'm like, I don't think anybody's stopping these two teams if they make it on.
I would love for that to go 7, and old Arturs Salovs just turns into a pumpkin, which we'll get to. But like that's in the book. So let's get to the first game. Obviously, Florida. If your handicap for that game was, well, Boston didn't have enough rest, they're going to be tired heading into that. Well, that didn't work out for you, and you probably lost that bet significantly. You had Hartz on today, Scotty Hartnell on the radio show talking about how difficult it is to rest when you're out of routine. So, obviously this series is back to even square, having everybody play game 1, but just handicapping that way seems kind of silly, just like looking at rest, no?
Well, yes and no, right? I mean...
Depends how banged up you were.
Florida had 9 days rest before they played Boston the other day.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody expected Boston coming off of the physical series they had against the Leafs to play with that much energy and come out with that convincing of a win, right? The Edmonton Oilers have had 7 days off between their last game. The Edmonton Oilers are 1-7 in their last 8 opening games in the playoffs. Game 1 games. So they have a history of not starting a series off strong. Their only win came in last round against LA, and they had that dominant win 7-4 in game 1. So they are notoriously slow starters in a series. Plus, you add the layoff. Plus, you add them being on the road in Vancouver. I don't know if there's a game to like Vancouver in this series. I think this would be the one.
I love when we disagree. I love it. Boston, Florida.
No, I'm just saying the
39
value
shots.
is there. The value is there because of, the trends. But anyways, you see it differently.
39 shots in game one. A whopping 86 shot attempts, which were 10 more than their highest output in round one. Boston gives up shots. They've done it all year. They've relying heavily on Jeremy Swayman. And I'm sure, like, when you got a hot goaltender, you're like, okay, we can give up the shots a little more. We don't have to fully protect the net as much as we do. But in this spot, Florida's down a game. Okay? Florida is at home. They sometimes have generous scorekeeping when it comes to shots. Swayman's a stud. You got to shoot on the goalie. Today's handicap is heavy on Florida shot attempts. And that's where we start off with Lindholm. Over 1.5 blocks, minus 125. He had 6 blocks in game one. Second on D in minutes at 22.5. That's a good number. And it's a low number for a guy who also gets PK1. So PK1, where's my finger? PK1, check. Okay, that's always in your checkbox for block shots, correct? We're getting the 1.5 at a good number, which is usually it's now 2.5. By the way, Jacob Trouba was 2.5 minus 190. He finished with 9 blocks yesterday. He had 8 blocks in the first 2 periods. So
I saw that. I saw you point that out on Twitter yesterday.
Some blocks are coming. And the guy's playing 22.5 minutes per game. Third check. Everything's there for it. Do you see another, I don't know, they're down a game in the series. Do you see them changing their shooting mentality at all?
No. If anything, it increases.
Yeah.
Right?
Now
that's a good angle you found there. And Lindholm has elevated his game tremendously. You go back to game 6 and game 7 for the Bruins. I know game 6 they didn't get the result, but he had a hell of a game in game 6 and even better game in game 7. Scored the game tying goal and set up the game winning goal in OT. And he's carried that over into this series too. And not just him. I mean, the elevated play of Mason Lowry, this young defenseman, and Brandon Carlo having a baby on the same day as him traveling into the game in game 1. Boston's got some good mojo going for them right now.
Yeah, and that lead, like you talk about the mojo, if we can get a Boston lead in this game and Florida playing from behind, ooh, baby. We could see it's just basically the same blueprint as we saw in game 1, which is not out of control here. So that's the first one we go. And then we go Brandon Montour over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 125. He led the team in game 1 with 10 shot attempts. He finished with 4, but shooting volume is more important than pucks on net. Also had 13 of his 29 shifts in the O zone, which also led all defensemen on the team. So, I mean, when zone entries get a little more difficult in the playoffs, and if you can get the majority of your shifts in the O zone, that is a massive advantage. He had at least 2 shots on goal in each game in the postseason, so the floor is there, and he's shooting more in the playoffs. Nothing wild. You're facing a hot goalie. Florida's a team that goes low to high. Let's put some money on someone getting 3. Not a big number, no? And 125 is not bad.
No, and he's your power play trigger man too, right? So
yeah.
It's a good player to focus on for 3 shots.
All right, and then finally, he hasn't been confirmed, I don't think, but the markets are out. I know there was lots of talk listening to you and AK talk about them and people coming in. Maybe Monty will go 1 game Allmark because he just hasn't played that many games.
Yeah.
He's never played 6 games in a row. Oh, he's never played 7 games in a row. Oh, he's never played 8 games in a row. That's a talk on Swayman. So Swayman should stay in. There's no reason not to. Guy's a stud. The move goes from 29.5 to 30 game to game, but I think I paid 29.5 in the last one, like minus 130. So it's not a huge difference. But with those shots, with that generous scorekeeping, with the series where it is, and with Boston, like you said, the ability to probably generously play with a lead, Florida's going to come out shooting, and you have to versus Swayman. You can't get cute.
Yeah. Well, hey, Boston, as many people as are probably overlooking them, they have a lot of confidence playing Florida. They were 4-0 against them in the season, and now 5-0 if you include the playoff game as game 1. So there's a lot of confidence hovering over that Boston group right now, and maybe not a lot of confidence in that Florida group, which is why you have to think that this game is a must win for Florida, considering the history between these two teams over this season. But, if there's a game to play Allmark, if Boston,
You're right.
if Boston really feels like, hey, you know what, maybe we don't want to overdo Swayman, maybe we can give him a game off. And it's not like we're throwing in a backup. We're throwing in a 1B. You know what I mean? In Allmark.
Reigning Vezina winner.
If there's a game to do it, it's this one because it's early in the series and they have a win. The thing that you have to manage if you're Boston is if you overwork Swayman and he gets a loss and it's a bad loss, now you're in the middle of the series thinking about making a goalie change. Is that literally what you want to entertain if he's determined to be your guy? Or do you say to yourself, hey, look, he's showing us he's ready to be that guy. Let's see how long he can take this thing, and then we'll worry about it when it happens. I think that's the proper approach to have, but they would know better than me. And yeah, if last game was any indication, it feels like he's still in the zone. I thought he was way more worked in game one of this series against Florida than he was in any game against the Toronto Maple Leafs in their series. So if that's the case, knowing the desperation that Florida is going to play with, the shot mentality that they do play with, this seems like another winner for me.
Like I said, 86 shot attempts from Florida in game one was 10 more than they had in their most game versus Tampa Bay in that round. And I would put that up against any other team in round one in terms of shot volume on net. And you're pretty much bang on. I don't know if he'd seen that much, had to focus in on that many shot attempts compared to Toronto, who
but not just shot attempts, like good scoring chances.
That's what I mean, but like to focus up on all of those shot attempts, and stuff getting through for sure. Toronto certainly didn't have that. And we talk about Allmark, he let in 3 goals in that Austin Matthews game, right? Like he's still pretty good. Like it's amazing what they have there.
Yeah,
some people paying 10 sheets for goalies. Obviously not going to happen anymore. But Swayman, he's tied for number 4th for Conn Smythe odds with Cale Makar right now at 1,200 at Sports Interaction.
I mean, think about it. If you think Boston's going to win, he's going to be probably the primary reason as to why.
That's why I got Arturs Silovs Conn Smythe, because if he beats Dallas, if he beats Colorado or Dallas or Edmonton, if he has to go through that gauntlet, you're winning by goaltending. They're not going to outscore those teams, but we'll see how that goes. We're going to get to that game right now. Edmonton, Vancouver. Vancouver is without Thatcher Demko. They said he was skating, but he was more week to week.
He's probably not going to be available to at least 5, 6, or 7 if it gets there.
Yeah, and then that will be game time decision type of stuff. It won't be like, he's magically healed. Right? This is also a guy this is a second different injury from the one that held him out for 3 weeks at the end of the season when Casey DeSmith had to run the table too. So Elias Pettersson dealing with an illness, and he's dealing with an illness. He's questionable. Adam Henrique, he's doubtful. Okay, now we go. I mean, the Edmonton power play was cooking. We know that. And that was a big reason for everything. 50%? Can't take penalties. And that does change the way. Does that not change the way you play defensively? Like, can't take penalty because they're going to score on us. No?
It does and it doesn't. I mean, you still want to play with an aggressive style. You just got to know how far you can cross the line or toe the line.
Do you get the same refs for most of the series or no? Same officials?
Somebody asked me that the other day. I don't really remember.
I would assume not.
Say no.
Yeah.
Unless it's the finals. But maybe in the second round they do. Definitely not in the first round. You don't get the same rest in the first round. I'm not sure how it goes from round to round. I'm not.
But the big talk was obviously about the Edmonton power play, as this is Bailey says the Oilers power play is unstoppable in the chat. Well, their penalty kill was perfect, which is odd, right? So
they have the best special teams right now in the playoffs, best power play and best penalty kill.
Yeah, 100% on the PK. Power play is like 50%. Their plus minus is 8 plus 8. And then on the other side, Vancouver killed 20 of 22 power plays. Now, the Nashville power play isn't the greatest in the world, but their number one, their PP1 isn't terrible with Forsberg and Yossi, but they were pretty solid. But Adam Henrique is out. You know who jumps up to the Hyman do you know who jumps up there?
I did see the lines yesterday. Yes.
Oh, he's not easy. He's not easy to get. But Sports Interaction has him. Matthias Janmark. Yeah. Oh, double dots Yanny, we call him. He's basically Calle Yarncroc. That's what I think. He's like the same guy. Coach's favorite. Just throw him up there. No one probably really loves him in Edmonton, but no one's screaming, "Yay, put Calle Yarncroc on the first PP." Anyway, Matthias Janmark plus 650 is an absolute behemoth of a number for a guy playing with McDavid and Hyman in a game that doesn't project for a lot of power play time because Vancouver doesn't take a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
And they kill penalties. And when you kill penalties, guess what? You don't get many other opportunities on the other end. When you suck at it, you probably get power play opportunities and there's more power play time across. But
how much do you think this line is going to change after this show?
No, I really don't think. I'll be honest. I don't think everyone's out here like hammering. It's really hard to have that much influence over the market. I get it, but like we'll see it. I see another book at 480. So it's going down. But a lot of the places right now, 650. Sports Interaction, the best price on the board for this. ASG, anytime goal scored. That number is insane. It is absolutely insane. Who did we hit the other? It was the Adam Henrique goal in that same spot that we hit game one. Yeah. Same thing.
It wasn't 650 though. It was like
no, it wasn't. It was like 350. And we're like, great number.
Yeah.
And this is it, 650. I don't know. Like, if you wanted to put half a unit just because the number, it's so off, like you should be betting more money on your bigger edges. This is a big edge for this price.
Yeah.
Okay. The news on Adam Henrique wasn't game time decision. It was considered doubtful for the game. This number will fall. We're taking it there. Then we're going to Edmonton. I want some Edmonton. I really don't think like Arturs Silovs is not a guy who is going to allow one goal through 2 games or 2 goals through 2 games across the series versus Edmonton. No. He's just not.
And you could make that argument against Nashville because Nashville is an offensively challenged team.
That's a politically correct way to say that. That's nice. I like that. But they're brutal. Yeah, they outside. Like if you can shut down Forsberg, what do you got?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Edmonton has way more firepower than Vancouver or than Nashville does, and it will present a bigger challenge for them. But I mean, I heard Rick Tocchet speak yesterday. They're embracing the underdog role. No one's giving them a chance in this series, and that's what playoffs is all about.
Sure. I mean, that's coach speak for finding something to motivate your team. I get it, right? Every coach is doing that. You hear guys who are like minus 130 favorites. They're like, yeah, no one believes in us. We're going to shock the world.
Yeah.
No. I mean, they're what? The number 2 seed in the West, right? They're legit. I get it. But at the end of the day, they're running their number 3 goalie out versus the best offense in all of hockey, who's scoring on every other power play in the playoffs. I wanted Edmonton team total over 3.5, but that's plus 110. I think if I'm taking either of them, I'll take the better money play at plus 120 here at Sports Interaction to win in regulation. A 3-1 win is not out of the cards here for Edmonton. We saw Skinny Stewart do a Houdini act on the road in LA in that 1-0 shutout game. So that's in the book.
And that's the one thing about Edmonton is everybody looks at them as like an offensive powerhouse, but they've cleaned up a lot defensively over the last couple weeks, maybe a couple months. You know, the goaltending's been top notch, and their defensive play has allowed them to feel comfortable being in these low scoring games.
No, and I mean, Ekholm's a stud. Right? Like he's a fun guy to watch. I don't know. There's a lot to like about Edmonton. I know the time off is something, but I really think that's subjective at best, and to try to price it into something is really difficult. But what I can price in is Pettersson might not play. That's massive. I mean, he wasn't great in the series, but it changes everything up. And then Arturs Silovs, the number 3 rookie. Edmonton's had a lot of time to look at him. And this is a different team than Nashville. So I think Edmonton can kind of do something early, because the matchup between, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Vancouver going from Nashville to Edmonton is a way different jump and more to prepare for than Edmonton going from LA to Vancouver.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
Right? The whole whiteboard's wiped off. Okay, start and reset. Whereas
there needs to be more of a game plan.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
For sure.
No, but Janmark, $650.
That's great value, man. Kudos to you for finding it. I mean, even if it doesn't hit, it's still something that has a higher percentage of hitting right now because of who he's playing with. For sure.
All right. I want to quickly see what $650 gets you in the other game. So let's go over to Sports Interaction, player props, single goal anytime, $650. Nick Cousins.
That's a 4th line center.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 8 minutes.
Versus a guy who's probably going to play somewhere around 13 to 17 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on how much power play time is cooked in, that's a bang on number right there. That's kind of what Henrique was playing too. So let's get producer Mick to throw those things back up, because I don't remember. Lindholm over 1.5 block shot.
To the rolling board we created?
Oh, our ticker. Our
ticker.
We'll get that back up for tomorrow. Lindholm over 1.5 block shots, -125. Heavy just on shot attempts from Florida in this game. That's where these plays are coming from. Montour from the point, over 2.5 shots on goal, -125. 10 shot attempts in game 1, led the team. And then Jeremy Swayman, saves. You got to shoot. Can't beat them. Down 1-0 in the series. Florida's going to shoot a ton. And then Matthias Janmark, anytime goal scorer, +650, a third of a unit at Sports Interaction. Massive price. We're taking that. And then Edmonton 3-way money line +120. Like the price of the +120, a little more than team total, over 3.5 at +110. Both I like, but I'll take the 10 points there. All right, let's go. I'll be up for the early game, but I might go to the bathroom and catch another one. I had a $3,000 bathroom trip this morning.
Oh, you love that, eh? Get up to the bathroom, you look at the bank account, you're like, yes,
sweet, yeah, right.
That
immediate
much better.
Immediate withdrawal, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'll take 2,500. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I can't go back to bed. All right, but appreciate it as always, my friend. We'll be back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is NHL Puck Prop, presented by Sports Interaction. Thanks to everybody there in the chat. Let's get that Janmark goal. Big one. That's going to be the wake-up one. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Lead us out, pal.
Ciao.